Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, the deposition of Hillary Clinton is over. We're told it lasted about 6 hours today. There were a few breaks. And this is a wild one to think about the former First Lady, the former Secretary of State, being deposed under oath in Chappaqua. It was taking place at a sort of a theater there about a mile or so away from Bill and Hillary Clinton's home. And this is, of course, over Jeffrey Epstein, over whether they knew him, what relationship it was, how did they know him, do they know anything about any of his finances, if money went to the Clinton Foundation, the Global Initiative. There's a lot of questions there. And everybody is talking about this because tomorrow the former president, Bill Clinton, will testify. So where is this headed, guys? Bill Clinton will be interesting because today you have to listen to what Hillary Clinton said after she was deposed. And apparently she stood fast to saying, I don't recall meeting Jeffrey Epstein.
I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance. But whatever they asked me, I did my very best to respond.
And according to many people that were in that room, it was the House Oversight Committee, Republicans and Democrats. People like James Comer were in charge of the deposition. And he came out and a number of others saying that Hillary Clinton on multiple occasions said, I don't know, you're going to have to ask my husband about that. I don't know, you're going to have to ask my husband about that. Because there are many pictures with Bill Clinton with individuals and also with Bill Clinton apparently meeting with Epstein. There are reports that he was on his plane multiple times. It may have just been transport or it may have been going somewhere with Epstein specifically. We'll find out more. And also that he was at the White House 17 times. Now, there were a lot of people who knew Jeffrey Epstein, so we'll find out. So far, the Clintons have said that there is nothing nefarious about this, and they are not accused of wrongdoing at this point either. But maybe they can connect some other dots. Let me just say it here loud and clear. I do not believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I don't believe it. I believe there's too many things at stake. There are too many names at stake. There are too many moments. It just does not seem conceivable. There are too many people. Look who's even on the list. In the last few days, we're hearing Bill Gates does a mea culpa. Then you also hear Larry Summers, who's with Harvard, suddenly resigns. And then today, the head of the World Economic Forum in Davos, he suddenly resigns. That's a biggie. These are all biggies. Where is the next shoe going to drop? Well, here is Chairman James Comer, head of the House Oversight Committee, and this is what he had to say when he got out of the deposition today with Hillary Clinton.
Our deposition is concluded. It's a shame that it took 7 months to get Ms. Clinton in. She answered most of our questions. I'm going to let some of my colleagues lament on that, but we're going to not release too many details of what happened today. We're going to try to get the video out as quickly as possible, hopefully within the next 24 hours. That's a very long deposition, so as quick as we can get that video produced. We will get that out. The transcript will be released as soon as her attorneys approve it. That's the standard rules of a deposition. And I think this was a productive deposition today. I think we learned a lot. There were a lot of questions that we asked that we weren't satisfied with the answers that we got, but we will continue to move forward. Any of my comments?
And Congressman Pat Fallon from the great state of Texas, he's part of the Oversight Committee. He was in there, and he kept kind of asking Hillary Clinton about an interesting moment, because you see these pictures and you see specifically Ghislaine Maxwell, who of course is the right-hand gal to Jeffrey Epstein. You see her at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. So here is Pat Fallon talking with her about Chelsea Clinton's wedding and why Ghislaine Maxwell, in a small wedding, why was she there?
I mean, the Clintons really did define a whole decade of life for us in politics. So take us behind closed doors. What was Hillary's demeanor like? She actually got fluffed up pretty well, looking pretty good there. So how did it go down?
Well, I'd never actually seen Laura. I'd never seen her in person, and she was certainly agitated. She was trying to be a little charming to the Democratic staff, and that even fell flat. She's a very icy person, interestingly enough. But nonetheless, she was trying to distance herself from Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, obviously, as she just said. She said she never met Epstein. She was just casual with Maxwell. So I asked her a question, just casual. You've met hundreds of thousands of people. Your daughter gets married in 2010. You have to distill these hundreds of thousands of people down to 250. There were 500 at the wedding. There's going to be a groom. So 250 Clinton invites. And guess who shows up as an invited guest? Ghislaine Maxwell. And she said, well, she just was a plus one. I said, so that's your testimony under oath, that it's just an odd coincidence that old Maxwell was there. Things that make you go,
Do we know who Wait, what was she? Was she Epstein's plus one? Forgive me for not knowing that.
No, Epstein didn't go. He had been convicted.
Didn't show up
counts in 08.
That would be bad. But yeah, I didn't think Laura, that made sense.
Yeah, Laura, they knew. Everybody in those circles knew that Maxwell and Epstein were attached to the hip. So how the hell did she end up there? And then they're supposed to distance themselves further. And they gave her an award in 2013 after Bill Clinton's body man and top aide tried to distance and said, hey, staff, Clinton Foundation, don't ever have Maxwell in again. And he reported right to Bill. So who overruled him? I think it's either the last name is probably a Clinton.
Isn't that interesting? Now, there's stories that it was a guy named Ted Waite, who was the guy who was invited, where Ghislaine Maxwell was the plus one businessman. He was apparently dating Ghislaine Maxwell, but he was also a big donor to the Clinton Foundation. So there's a lot of questions. And tomorrow, this is going to be one for the record books. Very rare, of course, to see a former president testify under oath, let alone a former first lady and a former secretary of state. And of course, we all remember when Bill Clinton testified famously in the Monica Lewinsky case. I was covering all of that, guys, for Fox News. The definition of is, remember. So will there be a parsing of words tomorrow? Will it all be like, no, I just was there for business. I knew him like a lot of other people knew him. By the way, President Trump has come out and said in recent weeks that he didn't like the idea that the Clintons were being called. Of course, it's not his decision. It's the House Oversight Committee that has been doing this. And it's Republicans and Democrats that are saying that they want to see the Clintons under oath. And there's a couple different reasons. The Republicans say they want to get to the bottom. They want to get to the truth. And yet others, like Democrats, are saying, we want the Clintons. We want Bill Clinton because he's the former guy. He also, was on the plane 26 times. Epstein was at the White House 17 times. And then they're making it clear that they're setting a precedent that they're expecting President Trump might come. I would say that will be a cold day in heck till that happens, but they're going to try. They're going to try to push it. And listen, if they get the House, they will push that hard. I want to remind everybody that in the middle of all this, all the Democrats had all this information during the Biden years. Biden was in the White House. They had control of the DOJ. They had control, of the chambers. And yet, at that moment, they didn't do anything. Remember? They didn't push it out. They for some reason, weren't anxious to get to the truth then. The only thing that they say now is we want to get to the truth. The thing that's different is Trump in the White House. It's Trump derangement syndrome because they want to try to pinpoint it to Trump. I mean, yet who's being under oath tomorrow? It's the Clintons. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Max in Manhattan on line 1. Max, your thoughts tonight.
Thank you very much for taking my call, Rita. As far as the mayor is concerned, I think that it's been a lot worse in England as far as the Muslim mayors are concerned. And the guy who's been screaming to the hills has been Tommy Robinson. Ironically enough, he happens to be in the U.S. right now. So it might be a good idea, or can I suggest that you bring him in for an interview?
Well, it'd be interesting to hear him. I am familiar with the name. I don't know Tommy Robinson, but I am familiar with the name. And your point's an interesting one. You're right, because England really has been, under siege to the point where it seems like Keir Starmer is afraid to do anything. I mean,
sure.
There are so many points. In case in point, Max, the really epitomize of that, just to move that forward, is Keir Starmer has come out and said you can't use UK bases if you're going to go after Iran. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Our great ally, what is he worried about? Some of the people in London going crazy if UK bases were helped to get rid of a terrorist state? Give me a break.
Can I add something?
Yeah, please.
I've heard a lot of people discussing how the problem in Iran is a threat to Western civilization. I'd say what bothers me about that is that all we have to do is look at England and the mosques that are being built there, and that is a threat to Western civilization.
Well, I would say if they are Islamists, I mean, to me, I do make a distinction, Max, between those who are peaceful versus those who are extremists. And there are individuals. Don't you agree? I mean, I have friends who are Muslim. They're wonderful people. In this case, it's obviously extremism. And yet you're right. London has allowed it. And that's really sad. You look at other places. I think of France. What about France? Like what's sort of the no-go zones, Max?
Just as bad or worse. And
right.
How about Sweden?
Yep.
That's known as the rape capital of the world now.
I mean, it's really scary, really scary. And that's why you need to protect the homeland and you need to protect, the values that make America great. By the way, Max, what did you make of the other day? And this is sort of just a tangential, but during the State of the Union, when President Trump said, who would you put first? What are your priorities? That famous moment where he said, will you put American citizens first? Or will you put illegal aliens first? And if you put American citizens first, do you understand that's the key, key point for an American president and for America, the role of government? And not a single Democrat stood up. What did you make of that moment, Max?
The Democrats that didn't stand up aren't just Democrats. These guys are revolutionaries with the false title of Democrat. These guys want to topple governments. And if you want to see what these things, see the youth right now don't understand what toppling a government looks like. If you look at the French Revolution, and you have a toppling of the government, that means heads are literally being chopped off. If you look at Russia, the place was when the communists took over, it was a mess. When they took over in Cuba, when the communists took over in Cuba, it was a mess. Not to mention now, it's still, after all these years, since 1957 or 59, it's still a mess.
No, you're right. You have to look at history, 100%. And that's why it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Cuba. No wonder President Trump cares so much about it, because of their communist values, and they're not too far off the U.S. coast. They are right there with Florida. Max, thank you very, very much. Really great to talk with you. We really appreciate it. Let's go to Viviana in Brooklyn, line 4. Great conversation with Max. Go ahead, Viviana.
Thank you so much for taking my call. I served as a clergy council member at the 72nd Precinct in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
One of the things, hallelujah, one of the things I realized is that the police must be respected at all times. And if our mayor cannot rise to the dignity of the office of mayor, he needs to resign. That's a tough thing, but it is very important. We have forgotten that those police officers, the firemen, ran into the Twin Towers when people had to run out.
Absolutely.
They go to the domestic quarrels and they're trained, but we are the ones that are benefiting from their sacrifice. When I think of him saying boys are going to be boys, to me that's an infantile response. That is not a man that has maturity, nor does he look at the situation in a way that he should as an elected official. And I'm really, really upset as a clergy council member that he would denigrate this situation and say, oh, it's just boys will be boys. I thought, too, that what would happen if there was a group of imams or a group of priests or a group of clergy or rabbis? They were standing in a similar situation as our police officers.
Right. Exactly. Can you imagine that? I don't think at that point it would be boys will be boys. Then he would say, how dare you do that? And you hit it on the head. He clearly has issues with the police. And you're right. They deserve our respect. They deserve our heralding. And boy, were they heroes. Not just on 9/11, but I believe every day, Viviana. Viviana, you make some great points. You got to call back again. And you're right. We have to see where this goes with Mayor Mandani, and we have to call him out when he doesn't defend our men and women in blue. We're going to continue after the break, guys. 1-800-848-9222. We'll be right back here on The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is The Rita Cosby Show.
Well, Hillary Clinton was today. Tomorrow's Bill Clinton. Let's go to Norm in Brooklyn on line one. Norm, your thoughts?
My thoughts are, Rita, that I would like to be a little bird in the Clinton household tonight, just to hear that conversation before Bill testifies tomorrow. I don't know how anybody in their right mind there's films, and apparently there's lots of photos of Bill in the hot tub and all that, and not to mention, I don't know anybody in their right mind who hasn't concluded that Bill was messing around with Epstein's women. So,
yeah, and listen, he says he wasn't. Maybe he was just checking the temperature of the hot tub. You know, maybe he was doing a hot tub service call. You know, we'll see tomorrow. Norm, stick with us. We're gonna have more after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on.
And we are back here on The Rita Cosby Show. Tomorrow, Bill Clinton will be testifying before the House Oversight Committee. That's James Comer Committee with Republicans and Democrats. The Democrats, and I've said this to you, the whole reason they're doing it is saying, hey, listen, Bill Clinton testified. Now we want Trump to testify. And as I said, they had every chance for many years to release information related to the Epstein files. I do believe that there were women who were clearly victimized in this case. You look at Virginia Giuffre, some of the details surrounding her and many of these others. Absolutely. Do they deserve justice? Yes. I'm not sure who was responsible. Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein. They also all point to Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't believe Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I think he had a lot of information on a lot of people. And those people do deserve justice, those women that were victimized. But I also know that the Democrats, let's remember, for years, they had all these files, they had all this information. They didn't make it public. I didn't see them holding hearings. I didn't see them doing any of these things or deposing people. Because guess what? The only thing that's changed is now they are trying to pin it all on Donald Trump. And there's no evidence that Trump did anything wrong. And what we've seen is that Donald Trump actually years ago was the one who called law enforcement and said, hey, you got to take a look at this guy. There's some questionable activity surrounding this guy named Jeffrey Epstein, he knew, but he also felt that there was something improper. So he's the one who reported some stuff to law enforcement about Jeffrey Epstein. And yet now again, it's Trump derangement syndrome. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to Norm on line one. So Norm, we were talking about how Bill Clinton, maybe he's a guy who likes pools. He was checking the temperature. Go ahead.
Sure, that's very likely based on his history. Yes. Look, you know what? I bet you he doesn't even show up tomorrow. I
think he's going to. I think he is. He might do I can't recall, or I take the fifth. Who knows?
Are they going to hammer him?
Well, I would imagine,
or are they going to treat him nicely and,
I would imagine. I
easily.
mean, from what I've heard today, they came out and said, hey, listen, where were you on this? Or how can you say that this? It's different with Hillary Clinton because we haven't seen per se any pictures of her. I haven't heard of any of her with Epstein.
She had nothing to do with it.
Right. So that's, and she kept saying, I don't know. You're going to have to ask my husband that.
Right.
So she basically.
Oh man.
Right. So now it says. So I think they're going to ask a lot of questions. Your point is a good one. What will he say or what will he not say? Yeah. That's I can't wait. And then the other thing that was wild was what we also heard there from Comer, where we know that it's not only transcribed, but it's videotaped. And he's hoping to make the videotapes public. He said maybe the Hillary Clinton within 24 hours or so, maybe he plans to get both of them out. This could be, that will be wild to see.
As certain as I am that Bill Clinton was doing something. Okay. As certain, I am absolutely positive that Trump had nothing to do with that, because it just, I just don't see it. I just don't see, I look, do we really know these people? No, they're men, and yeah, but no, this is not Trump's thing.
Well, and also, and Norm, not only that,
it is Bill Clinton's thing.
If it was true about Trump, you know darn well Biden would have leaked it. We hear all these things that Biden's team did. They went after classified documents. They raided Mar-a-Lago over classified documents. You don't think they'd leak these documents out there and demand he testify and do all these things if there was anything, and they had access to it. So to me, that's why I feel sad for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, because I believe there were many victims of Jeffrey Epstein. And I believe he was a disgusting, horrible individual. And now we're finding out that he was getting state secrets, apparently, from Andrew and other people. And look, all these other people who are resigning. You don't just resign for the heck of it. Clearly, there's more to the story here on a lot of these people. So there's something there. But shame on the Democrats if there was something there that they didn't put it out there. And darn well, if they knew something about Trump, how much they hated Trump. Think about all the charges and allegations against Trump. They went after him for claiming that Mar-a-Lago, remember that he undervalued Mar-a-Lago, which was so ridiculous. You don't think they'd go after him if there was something in writing in these files that they all had access to tied to Jeffrey Epstein, they would have gone crazy, and they did not. And that to me speaks volumes. Norm, thank you very much. We'll see what tomorrow brings. It will be interesting. Let's go to Jean in Mount Vernon on line 2. Jean, your thoughts tonight.
Yes. Hi, Rita. I'm 88 years old, so I've lived through a lot of history. And I know Ghislaine Maxwell had a father. I don't know exactly
Robert Maxwell.
How old he was.
Yep, big publisher who died suddenly. Very some interesting circumstances on the boat.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes, I remember that. Now, I don't know how old Ghislaine was when she met Jeffrey Epstein, but I do think that she was used by him to help him get young girls.
Yes.
And the reason I think that is because she used to drive through a park. I don't know if it was Central Park or whatever, and she'd see young women, and she'd ask them if they would like to go shopping to get in the car with her. And I think perhaps Jeffrey Epstein was using Galena, and she was thinking she was his best sweetheart, but he was actually using her as a come on for young women.
By the way, Jean, 100%. But I don't feel sorry for her, and I'll tell you why. Because if the testimony is correct, many of these young girls have said that's the one. Not just meeting them in parks, but they claim that she was like scouting them out at high schools. Like picking up young girls at high schools and saying, hey, this guy just wants a massage. It's really easy. All you have to do is do a massage. When she knew darn well, I believe, that it was a lot more than a massage. Because according to these women, she participated in a number of these horrible atrocities, too, against these young underage girls. So I don't feel like, maybe she had a troubled childhood or whatever, or I don't know what the background was with her and her father, and if Jeffrey was like, currying favor. I still don't care. She was an adult, and it sounds like, according to the women, she was soliciting them. And if indeed that's the case and she participated knowingly, it's horrible. And it's interesting. Again, the whole Ghislaine coming to the wedding is an interesting thing of the Clintons. I want to play this again, Gene, because you kind of triggered. This is Pat Fallon, and he was talking about why at Chelsea Clinton's wedding, you see Ghislaine Maxwell sitting there in the aisle. Take a listen.
I mean, the Clintons really did define a whole decade of life for us in politics. So take us behind closed doors. What was Hillary's demeanor like? She actually got fluffed up pretty well, looking pretty good there. So how did it go down?
Well, I'd never actually seen Laura. I'd never seen her in person, and she was certainly agitated. She was trying to be a little charming to the Democratic staff, and that even fell flat. She's a very icy person, interestingly enough. But nonetheless, she was trying to distance herself from Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, obviously, as she just said. She said she never met Epstein. She was just casual with Maxwell. So I asked her a question, just casual. You've met hundreds of thousands of people. Your daughter gets married in 2010. You have to distill these hundreds of thousands of people down to 250. There were 500 at the wedding. There's going to be a groom. So 250 Clinton invites. And guess who shows up as an invited guest? Ghislaine Maxwell. And she said, well, she just was a plus one. I said, so that's your testimony under oath, that it's just an odd coincidence that old Maxwell was there. Things that make you go,
Do we know who Wait, what was she Epstein's plus one? Forgive me for not knowing that.
No, Epstein didn't go. He had been convicted
didn't
2 counts in 08.
That would be bad. But I didn't think Laura, that made sense.
Yeah, Laura, they knew, everybody in those circles knew that Maxwell and Epstein were attached to the hip. So how the hell does she end up there? And then they're supposed to distance themselves further. And they gave her an award in 2013 after Bill Clinton's body man and top aide tried to distance and said, hey, staff, Clinton Foundation, don't ever have Maxwell in again. And he reported right to Bill. So who overruled him? I think it's either the last name is probably a Clinton.
That's very interesting. That sort of opens a lot of doors. And also, what was she doing at the wedding when Epstein had already been convicted, well known at that point by the time of the wedding? Wouldn't you think the right-hand person maybe shouldn't be there? But we'll find out tomorrow what the whole circumstance is behind all of this. Let's go to Eduardo in Tampa, line 1. Go ahead, Eduardo.
Yeah, Rita, thank you for taking my call. Going back to your Mandani, I don't think he should be meeting with Mandani.
You mean Trump? You think Trump should not be meeting with the mayor?
No.
Now, why not? I hear you. I'll tell you, the first time I saw them meeting, I really was a little bit like, oh, I'm not sure why that's going on because they couldn't be further apart. And then on the other hand, I also think that Trump is such a skillful negotiator. And I do believe he wants the best for New York. And maybe he thinks he can get the best situation out of somebody who is far, 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 far left. Who he doesn't agree with, but maybe he thinks the ultimate goal is being good for America, good for New York, and he's playing him a little.
And I just saw this story online where this is where he needs to concentrate more because there needs to be arrests of city mayors or governors. I just saw a story, this is on Daily Mail, of a Somali who got a license from Minnesota. He was driving on a Missouri highway, going the wrong way because they couldn't read the signs.
Yeah, he couldn't read English. Could not read English. Right. I mean,
so
it's
I think
incredible.
That's something more important for the president. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, I think he's watching that. There's no doubt. And I think he would like to see cooperation with New York with ICE. That's why I keep going back, Eduardo, to what is his game plan, because Trump is really the master of the art of the deal. And he is, allowing Mandani to come to say, hey, here's what it is. I'd like to get affordable housing in New York. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do that. So that's why, to me, this is only a little smidgen of what the game plan is. I think in my mind, Trump is thinking, okay, maybe I'll help him with affordable housing, give some money because it's a noble mission. Maybe I can help him with that. We put it in an area that I know New York. We'll put it in an area. But at the end of the day, I want X. There's got to be an X. Trump is not just going to be doing it out of the goodness of his heart. Yeah, let's face it.
Yeah. The art of the deal. You scratch my back, I scratch your back.
Right.
Kind of deal.
Or you're going to do this. That's a good thing for New York City and New York City safety. Mm-hmm. You're not going to cut the cops. You're not going to do this, or you're going to do X with ICE. You are going to cooperate. At least on these certain things. There's got to be something. I'm not sure how much Mandani will bend. I think on the cops, maybe he will. But I keep going back to he's an ideologue. To me, Trump is used to the art of the deal, used to doing, trying to get his way, and he's been very successful at it. And he loves New York. Right. So I do believe his intention's a good one. I just feel like this Mandani's a whole different cat. I mean, this guy is pretty transparent on how he feels with cops. Look, he can't even support them when they're getting pounded, with snowballs. It's not a trick question. It's not a snowball fight. It's a snowball attack. And yet somehow he can't bring himself to say it. So that's why it's going to be an interesting dynamic. This is not sort of a normal situation, if you will, with this guy. But I still put my chits definitely on President Trump. There is no doubt about it. Let's go to Sarah real quick in Brooklyn. Sarah, your thoughts on line 3. Go ahead.
Hi. We have Manhattan is Manhattan, Staten Island is Richmond County. Let's take Queens, make it Trump Queens County. And I think John, Margot, and you can get it done. And if anybody has an opportunity, why not ask our current mayor why he has not set up a blank 111 number for social workers, for people to call and not call the police, who should never have been called to that scene.
Although, now let me ask you, Sarah, I'm a little confused on what you said at the end there, because I have a real problem with the social workers being sent to a lot of these locations, because a lot of times these situations are highly volatile and they get explosive quickly, especially if it's like a domestic violence. Do you agree that at least I have no problem if a social worker somehow accompanies police and they sit in the car or something, but you don't want someone who's going to get in the way if somebody comes down and starts lunging at them with a knife. Don't you agree? You want a cop there.
Well,
I don't want a social worker.
They're innocent young people. And he has 9 bedrooms, and how many are empty that he can bring the guy into his house overnight and consult with him if he feels the guy is being wrongly charged?
Sarah, I love where you're going. Bring that guy in. Right, the guy who's lunging at the cops.
The city money. Right. Why does he need 5 bidets for 9 bathrooms?
Good point.
Cut back a little bit. I don't even have one.
or Sarah, share him. I think he needs to invite that guy, every crazy person who he thinks should be inflicted, on the New York City streets. You're right. If they're wonderful, fine people, and maybe they are, but they clearly need help, and many of them clearly need to be behind bars, maybe they should hang out at Gracie Mansion. And let's see how he really feels after that. Sarah, great points. I love it. You got to call back again soon. And everybody, we're going to continue your calls after the break here on The Rita Cosby Show, 1-800-848-9222. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Waterville, New York, where a 107-year-old World War II veteran was honored for her service this week. The mayor stopped by the home of veteran Susan Rossetti with a proclamation recognizing her for her sacrifice and the path that she helped to pave the way for women in the military. She joined the Army in 1943. She served for 27 months at an Army airfield alongside about 150 other women. When asked why she enlisted, she said, "My 2 brothers went in, and I said, well, if they went, I can go too." And that's when she signed up. How beautiful to see 107 years old Susan Rossetti recognized for her great service. And bravo, of course, to all of our men and women, part of the greatest generation, and also their wonderful families. And everybody, all it takes is just $11 a month to make an incredible difference. Donate just $11 a month to the best organization out there, Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Be sure to check them out. They do so much for our military and their beloved families. Check them out at t2t.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, it's Sterling K. Brown from the Hulu original series Paradise. The next chapter begins as Xavier's search for his wife takes him above ground, and what he finds will change everything. It was never just about the bunker. Tune in and discover the truth lies outside. Paradise, the official podcast, is now streaming, and stream Paradise on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls. Let's go to Mike on the east side, line 4. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Rita. Always good to hear you. One thing that hasn't been touched on is that picture of high police officials in a Christian, or at least not Muslim, officials participating in a Muslim prayer with Mandani to start the Ramadan day. I have never seen.
What did you think of that? What did you think of it?
I was disgusted. It's like when they took a knee, when that police official took a knee during Black Lives Matter. This is disgusting, and this is the plan of the Islamist caliphate. They did it in England. They're doing it in France.
Well, and one of the things that's interesting, Michael, is, and I don't know the officers if they are Muslim and if it was a peaceful prayer, but I saw some images. I think it was in Times Square, and it did look a little different than what we've used to see. And Mandani certainly seems to not mind when there's protests outside of synagogues. That's a problem.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.